Akhandamandalakaram Vyaptam Yena Characharam Tatpadam Darshitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Panchatattvatmakam Krishnam Bhaktarupaswarupakam Bhaktavataram Bhaktakhyam Namami Bhaktashaktikam Vasudevasutam Devam Kamsachanuramardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum Narayanam Namaskritya Naranchaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayet Nashtaprayeshva Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttamashloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Sarvebhyo Namaha. Welcome to this session. We have completed the 14th chapter of Bhagavad Gita in our last session. So today we are beginning the 15th chapter. But before I get into the 15th chapter, I want to once again remind ourselves of this very basic question. Why we study the Bhagavad Gita? Why do we study it? What do we get from it? So the simple answer is the Bhagavad Gita guides us towards our ultimate purpose in life, which is to get pure happiness. This is the common purpose that all of us have. Not only human beings, but you can say all living beings. What are we all looking for? Happiness. And our current education system actually does not teach us how to get this pure happiness. According to our current education system, material wealth, which is represented by money, property, etc., is the source of ultimate happiness. So the richer you become in terms of material wealth, the more happy you ought to become, right? But now we know through our experience that it's not so. The Gita says that it is our consciousness. We all have a property called consciousness. We are conscious living beings. Living beings have consciousness, non-living beings don't. And it is this consciousness that is the source of happiness, the ultimate happiness. And this happiness is already present within us. Both consciousness and happiness are already present within us. Then why are we not aware of it? It's because of our attachment to matter. The Gita teaches us that because of our attachment to matter, it covers our consciousness and distances us from it. And therefore, detachment from matter and connecting with the universal consciousness is the way forward. That is the way to uncover our real consciousness. And the Gita teaches us that that universal consciousness is also known as Sri Bhagavan, Paramatma, Brahman, Ishvara, etc. And you can say in other terms, we Krishna, Rama, we address him by different names, right? He has infinite names, and in some of the other religions, they address him as whatever, Allah, Jehovah, different other names. Hence, the Gita says, connecting with Sri Bhagavan is the ultimate purpose of life. Okay, so we began with the question of why we study the Gita, and we said it guides us towards our ultimate purpose. And connecting with Sri Bhagavan is that ultimate purpose because it gives us that pure happiness. So, in essence, if you ask me what the Bhagavad Gita is about, it's about discovering this priceless treasure. Okay, consciousness is our priceless treasure. It's our real treasure. It's our greatest wealth, not material money. Okay, money, property, etc. These also are wealth, no doubt about it. But they are only supporting wealth. They help us to conduct our life, and on the basis of that, we can actually conduct a search for our own consciousness. So with this, I'll move forward, and now we go into the 15th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. In the 14th chapter, Sri Bhagavan described the three gunas of Prakriti. He began by telling that the material nature, material energy, one of his energies, one of his Shaktis, is actually, it operates through the three gunas of Prakriti, which are Sattva, Rajas, and Tamas. And now he further talks about the Prakriti itself. He begins by comparing Prakriti to Ashwattha Vriksha, the people tree. Okay, we have spoken about the people tree earlier too in the Gita, where he says, uh, among all the trees, I am the Ashwatha tree. In fact, the people tree is considered the most sacred tree in the Sanatana Dharma. Of all the trees, the most sacred one is the people tree. It has that position. And I also mentioned when we were talking about it that in India, that has not been forgotten. Today, the highest civilian honor that an Indian gets is called the Bharata Ratna. And the Bharata Ratna, the medal which is given, is in the shape of a people leaf. The shape of the Bharat Ratna medal is that of a people leaf. So the people tree is not forgotten, it's always there, and wherever it is, it's considered to purify that place. So now, here in the 15th chapter, Sri Bhagavan begins by using the people tree as a metaphor. He says, Urdhva Moolamadash Shakham Ashwattam Prahuravyayam Chandamsi Yasya Parnani Yastam Veda Savedavit. Sri Bhagavan said, the learned describe an inexhaustible Ashwatha tree, a people tree whose roots point up and branches point down. It's an inverted tree. The leaves of this tree are the hymns of the Veda, and one who understands the Veda, or one who understands this tree, understands the Veda. So he begins in this manner by comparing the material energy, the material existence to the people tree. Then he says, Adascha urdhvam prasritastasya shakha गुणप्रवृद्धा विषयप्रवालाः अधश्च मूलान्यनुसन्ततानि कर्मानुबन्धीनि मनुष्यलोके. Influenced by the three gunas of Prakriti, the branches of this tree spread both downwards and upwards, the sense objects being the sprouts and shoots on them. Roots, also called the prop roots on a banyan tree or ashwatha tree also spread in the lower regions, representing the various vasanas or tendencies that we have, which cause karma, activity in human existence. So, in our material existence, it is our vasanas which drive us to do various kinds of activities, take interest in various types of activities and pursue them. And these are represented by the different roots. They are the ones which ground us, they are the ones which support our material existence. न रूपमस्येह तथोपलभ्यते नान्तो न चादिर्न च संप्रतिष्ठा अश्वत्थमेनं सविरूढमूलम् असङ्गशस्त्रेण दृढेन चित्वा. In this material existence, neither the intrinsic nature of this ashwatha tree, nor its origin, nor end, nor foundation are obtained as they actually are. The tree has deep roots, and after chopping it down resolutely with the weapon of detachment, this will continue into the next shloka too, we will go there. But I just want to mention here that you can see how the material existence that we have is very difficult to disentangle, because we have been in material existence since eternity. It is not that we came into this existence at some point of time. We've been existing here since eternity. And so he says that it's very difficult to find out its origin nor its end also. We don't know when it will end. It's not pre-decided. The foundation on what is it based, it's very difficult to disentangle this. And therefore, the only thing that we can do with it, instead of trying to find out where it began, where it ends, etc., is to just chop it down. We can chop it down, and how do we do that? With the weapon of detachment. Asanga Shastra. ततः पदं तत्परिमार्गितव्यं यस्मिन् गता न निवर्तन्ति भूयः तमेव चाद्यं पुरुषं प्रपद्ये यतः प्रवृत्तिः प्रसृता पुराणी. So what happens after we chop down this tree of material existence, that one must seek that state of existence upon reaching which one will never return, and take refuge in that original person from whom this ancient material manifestation has expanded. So this material manifestation actually began from Sri Bhagavan only, and we should now take refuge in him. Essentially, what it says is that we should rediscover, or we should discover, our real consciousness. Right now, our consciousness is covered by this material existence, and we experience our consciousness through this material energy. We don't experience it as it really is. If we do that, if we are able to connect with our consciousness as it really is, then we experience pure happiness, pure, genuine happiness. That is the point he's trying to make. And how do we do that? We take refuge in that original person. Tameva chadyam purusham prapadye. That Adi Purusha. Adi Purusha is Bhagavan. And take refuge in that Adi Purusha, that Adya Purusha. And his consciousness is infinite. And when we connect with him, then our material existence automatically goes down. It gets chopped, it gets broken up, it gets dissolved, it vanishes, and we regain that pure original consciousness. That is our true self. And this is what the Gita is teaching us. It's actually helping us to discover and become our best self. Okay, today you find so many self-improvement books, and one of the slogans they commonly share is that, we should live our best self, we should find our best self, we should become our best self, right? And the Gita is doing that. Gita is teaching us how to become our best self. And so Gita is a eternal self-improvement book given by Sri Vyasadeva ji to us. So for today, I will stop with these four shlokas. And I want to essentially say that connecting with Sri Bhagavan is the way in which we should do this. We should actually seek him out. He is right inside us. We don't have to look outside. We don't have to go and search in some remote place. Very often these questions comes, do I have to leave my job? Do I have to leave my family? How do I continue my work if I have to do that? Well, why not? Because he is sitting right inside us. We are carrying him with us all along. And all we have to do is look inside and find him and find ourselves too in the process. So, one of the ways in which it is done is through Bhagavata-katha. In the path of bhakti, uh, chanting or doing japa of Sri Bhagavan's names is considered the most powerful method to connect with him. And along with it is Bhagavata-katha, which feeds that process, which supports that process of doing japa. So, what is Bhagavata-katha? Bhagavata-katha is essentially narrating the various activities, the qualities, the nature of Sri Bhagavan and our relationship with him, and listening to them. Okay, somebody narrates, somebody listens, somebody again narrates, somebody listens. So by this process of narration and listening, shravanam kirtanam, we purify our consciousness, we discover our consciousness, and we connect with Sri Bhagavan. Now, in the Dashama Skandha of Srimad-Bhagavatam, we've been listening to the Leelas of Bhagavan, how he manifested himself in a prison, he is carried to Gokula, and he does various activities in Gokula as a small baby, liberating Putana, breaking the cart, liberating Trinavarta, his Namakarana Leela, showing Vishwarupa to Mother Yashoda, various mischievous activities, then the famous Damodara Leela, the Yamalarjuna Leela, where he pulls down two huge trees. Then they move to Vrindavan and he plays, enjoys himself in Vrindavan as a very small child of 3 years, 4 years of age. Then in that age group, in that age when he is still a Kaumara, he's called a Kumara. These are called as Kaumara Leela. The killing of Vatsasura, the killing of Bakasura, then Aghasura. And eventually, in the last session, we heard about Sri Brahma Vimohana Leela, where Sri Brahma, who is so amazed by listening to, by coming to know about Krishna's killing of Aghasura at the age of 5 years, Brahma wants to see one more Leela, and Sri Bhagavan gives him that opportunity. He shows him one Leela, and when we were narrating this question we encountered, that it took 1 year for the little Gopas to tell their parents about the killing of Aghasura. Aghasura was killed when Krishna was just about 5 years old, but they reported the incident to their parents only when he was about 6 years old, 1 year later. Why did that happen? It's because of the Brahma Vimohana Leela, where Brahma comes and takes away the cows and the boys, and he comes back just one moment later. And in that one moment, 1 year has passed on the earth. And the boys are sleeping with him in that 1 year on the earth, but one moment in Brahma's time. And when finally that Leela gets over, they go back and they narrate. And today we continue from there and we listen to another wonderful Leela called the Dhenuka Mochana Leela, in which Sri Krishna is in his Paugandavastha. He's now about 6 years of age, little more than that. And he's playing with the Gopas and his brother Balaram as usual. So this Leela is very, very sweet. It describes the sweetness of Vrindavan and its surroundings, and we will listen to it now. So, Krishna and Balarama, now in their Pauganda age, are permitted to graze the cows. Earlier, they were permitted to only graze the cows, but now they are permitted to graze the cows. They are considered to be older and stronger. They visit Vrindavan daily and purify the land with their pure lotus like feet. If you ask me, weren't they staying in Vrindavan itself? No, they were actually not staying in Vrindavan. If you go today to Vrindavan, now Vrindavan is located about 11 kilometers to 11 to 12 kilometers from Mathura, so north of Mathura along the banks of river Yamuna. And away from that, to the west of this, west of Vrindavan, is the Govardhan Hill. And little to the north of Govardhan Hill is the place known as Nandagram. And it is said that that is where they stayed. That is where Krishna grew up, in Nandagram. So that's about probably 30 kilometers from today's Vrindavan. But Sri Bhagwan and his Gopas and his brother Balaram, they used to graze all over that region. So they used to visit Govardhan Hill, they used to visit Yamuna. Although Yamuna is not flowing by the place where they stayed, they used to visit it. And so they used to come to Vrindavan, the place that is called Vrindavan today. They used to come there, they used to graze their cows there. It was all forest at that time, all beautiful forests. And the names of 12 different forests are described, and we are going to now hear about one of them. Vrindavan is filled with nutritious grass for the cows and beautiful forest flowers. So every day with the cows in the front, see, always when you take them out for grazing, you don't go in the front and they follow you, but you keep them in the front. And Krishna is playing his flute, and then Balaram is behind Krishna, and then the Gopas who are all singing and dancing as they walk. They're all small children, right? They are melodiously humming bees everywhere. You can hear the sounds of these bees. It's a very bright day. There are herds of deer somewhere. They suddenly cross the path, and there are charming birds chirping. There are beautiful ponds and lakes here and there with crystal pure waters. There is fragrant breeze coming from their lotuses and filling the forest. Sri Bhagavan is so charmed by the Vrindavan forest. Vrindavan is so beautiful that he decides to come there every day and roam about there. So, as he walks along, he observes trees and creepers bending under the weights of the fruits and flowers and touching their feet. It is said that looking at them, even the trees and the creepers, they used to feel so much in love that they used to bend down and touch their feet. And so he mentions this to Sri Balaram, his elder brother, and praises him. He says that, look, brother, looking at you, these creepers are bending. He doesn't say looking at looking at me or himself. He talks about Balaram, his elder brother. He's full of respect for his elder brother and he praises him and he expresses his humility. Similarly, along with the Gopas, Sri Bhagavan roams around and goes to the foothills of the Govardhan Hill sometimes. Sometimes they decide to go to the bank of the Yamuna, which is quite away from Govardhan Hill. They are not next to each other. Yamuna does not flow by the side of Govardhan Hill. Gopas sing their praises. Krishna and Balaram sing alongside the hum of the bees on their flowers. The bees are actually surrounding their flowers, which are so fragrant. Sometimes Krishna coos with the birds. The birds are making cooing sounds, like, for example, the koel. And at times he dances with the peacocks. And the peacocks, when they see him dance, because he dances so beautifully, they start feeling shy that, oh, we can't dance so nicely. Sometimes he calls out to his cows and to his other gopas. And when he calls out, he calls them out so lovingly that hearing that loving voice of Krishna, they lose control of their own minds. They lose control in that love. They just come running to him. And sometimes Krishna imitates the koels and the other birds. So Vrindavan is a place of love where Sri Bhagavan expressed his loving nature, his pure loving nature. And sometimes he acts as if he is scared by the roars of the tigers, lions, and other animals. He behaves like an ordinary human being. And when his brother Balaram, out of tiredness and exhaustion, rests his head on the lap of another boy and lies down on that lap, Krishna immediately goes to his brother's feet and waves the fan made of leaves and tries to give him relief. When the Gopas sing or dance or playfully wrestle with each other, then Krishna and Balaram watch them from the side and they are saying, ah, wah, wah, how nice. And they clap and they exclaim in fun. They egg them on. And sometimes Krishna and Balaram also wrestle with the other Gopas in fun. And they exhaust themselves. They get exhausted. Sometimes Krishna wins, sometimes the Gopas win, somebody else wins. And they playfully engage with each other. And finally, they become tired. And they rest on the lap of a Gopa under some charming tree. And when that happens, one of the Gopas comes and massages their legs. And another one immediately takes up a fan with large leaves and fans them. And yet another Gopa sings soft and pleasing songs, imbued with love for their pleasure as they get a small sleep, take a small afternoon nap. Right? So in this way, Sri Bhagavan spends his time playing with the Gopas, with his brother, in a very joyful and loving manner. Imagine that they are just 5 or 6 year old boys, young children, with so much camaraderie, so much affection between them. एवं निगूढात्मगतिः स्वमायया गोपात्मजवत्वं चरितैर्विडम्बयन् रेमे रमालालितपादपल्लवो ग्राम्यैः समं ग्राम्यवधीशचेष्टितः. Sri Vyasdev ji says such a nice shloka. He says, Evam nigoodatmagatis swamayaya gopatmajatvam charitairvidambayan रेमे रमालालितपादपल्लवो ग्राम्यैः समं ग्राम्यवधीशचेष्टितः. He says, Sri Bhagavan, he concealed his identity with his yoga maya. He didn't want them to know that he is the supreme Ishvara. For him also, that identity as the Ishvara is insignificant. This, this form that he is displaying now with the Gopas, playfully enjoying with them, that is the nature that he likes of himself. So he disguised his identity through various activities as the son of a Gopa, the son of Nanda, who is the Gopa, the one whose tender lotus like feet are longed for by Srimati Rama. Rama is Lakshmi, Mother Lakshmi herself, and who performed the Herculean tasks of the Supreme Ishvara, enjoyed as a little village boy in the company of other village boys. That is how he spent his time. One day, his friends, Sridama, Subala, and Stoka Krishna, these are all the names, some of the names of his Gopas, they approach Krishna and Rama. Okay, Rama refers to Balaram. And with affection they say, Oh Krishna, oh Rama. Nearby is a forest of tala trees, tala vriksha, laden with sweet ripe fruits. This is called Talavana. There is a wicked asura there named Dhenuka asura, and he lives there in the donkey form. He's taken the form of a donkey with his companions, and he constantly harasses others who come there. He's very powerful and has even eaten several human beings. So people and even birds today do not go there. They avoid that place. But that place, Talavana, has very sweet and fragrant fruits. They ask Krishna, can't you feel their fragrance all around here? The fragrance is so much that it has spread all over. We crave to taste the fruits. Our minds are restless. Please help us in this regard. So, to make their dear friends happy, Krishna and Balaram resolved to immediately go to Talavana. So, these tala trees, palm trees, are very common in India. Even today, so many places in India, in the south especially, you will see lots and lots of palm trees. And palm trees have a very special fruit, which on the outside has got a very, you can say, translucent kind of appearance, whitish, translucent appearance. It's very pleasant to have. And inside, the core of that fruit is very sweet. And you can actually make a kind of sugar out of that, palm sugar, it's called. It's very sweet inside, and outside is transparent and very pleasant, something like lychee, something like the lychee you get here. Very pleasant and sweet fruit. It's palm fruit. So these fruits, this is what they're referring to. And there are many different varieties of palm trees. It's not just one type of tree, the tala tree, but apart from the tala tree, there are other types of palm trees as well. For example, the date palm, out of which the good rasgulla is made. Today we get good rasgulla in the winter all over this eastern India. And that is made with this good ras, which comes from another type of palm tree. Not this tree, but it's another type. It's called the date palm. So these trees, they produce very sweet sap, which can be used as a sweetener in making sweets and other dishes. So Talavana is now occupied by this very wicked asura called Dhenuka asura. Balav pravishya bahubhyan talan samparikampayan phalani patayamasa matangaja ivaujasa. So what happens then? Entering Talavana, Sri Balaram shook the tala trees vigorously with his bare hands and felled their fruits, just like an intoxicated elephant does with its mighty strength. Okay, just like an elephant shakes a tree and all the fruits fall. Balaram did that to the tala trees in Talavana. He went into Talavan and shook them, a small 6-year-old boy. And this disturbed Dhenukasura, who was not present in front of them, but he was somewhere else, but he could hear the sound of something shaking and he could hear the fruits falling. He said, "Who the hell has come into my kingdom?" And so he ran towards the sound where the sound was. And when he ran, he was so huge and heavy that the earth and even the nearby hills were trembling under his weight. So he approached Balaram. He saw Balaram was the cause of this one small little boy. He has killed several human beings in the past. So who's this small kid who's coming and fooling around? So he goes there, he goes to Balaram and he turns around and uses the hind part of his body and kicks Balaram's chest strongly with his hind legs and then moves away from him. He's braying very loudly. And then he turns around and again, braying in great anger, he approaches Balaram and again tries to kick him with the hind legs. And then what happens? Catching him with one hand by the hind legs, Balaram whirls him, he lifts him off the ground and whirls him in the sky and hurls him on the top of a tala tree. And being whirled by Balaram like that, Dhenukasura loses his life in that one instant. And as that tree crashes under the weight of Dhenukasura's body, it falls on several other trees and causes several trees to also crash to the ground. And this is just child's play for the super strong Balaram. But as these trees have fallen, it seems as if the forest has been ravaged by a massive hurricane. It's as if a huge hurricane has just passed through the forest and so many trees have fallen. Sri Vasudevji describes Naita Chitram Bhagavati Hyanante Jagadishware Otaprotamidam Yasmin Stantushwanga Yatha Pataha. He says, "Oh Parikshit," this is actually Shukadev Shukamuni narrating to Parikshit. "This is nothing surprising. The entire universe resides comprehensively in Sri Bhagavan. The infinite is Ananta and its supreme master Jagadishwara. Just as a fabric exists in its threads that run lengthwise and breadthwise through it. You see, the fabric is actually living in its threads. And similarly, the entire universe is living in Sri Bhagavan, who runs through this universe." So, upon seeing Dhenukasura dead, Dhenukasura has various brothers and friends. They are all burning with rage now, and they furiously attack Krishna and Balaram. But they get the same treatment that he got. They are all caught hold of by their legs and thrown on the top of trees, and they die in the same way that Dhenukasura died. And eventually, the Talavana ground is covered with the Asura's bodies. All these donkeys, they're all lying there all over the ground in the Talavana, just like the sky is covered with clouds. And seeing this amazing activity by these two young boys, two little boys, the Devas who are watching this, they shower flowers. And after this, the human beings, the animals, and the birds, they return to Talavana and relish the fruits thereafter. Talavana becomes free from these asuras and once again becomes a place where others can go and enjoy themselves. And with this, Krishna and Balaram return to Vraja with the cows and the joyful Gopas singing their praises. So Sri Bhagavan says in the Gita, we have heard this shloka before, and this is one of the famous shlokas in the Gita, Paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya cha dushkritam dharma sansthapanarthaya sambhavami yuge yuge. To protect the saintly, to destroy the wicked, and to re-establish dharma, I manifest myself time and again. Shri Bhagavan says, and Shri Vasudevji says, Tam Gorajaschurita Kuntala बद्धबर्हवन्यप्रसूनरुचिरेक्षणचारुहासं वेणुक्वणन्तं वे वेणुं क्वणन्तम् अनुगैरुपगीतकीर्तिं गोप्यो दिदृक्षितदृशो अभ्यगमन समेताः. As the boys returned to Vrindavan, the dust raised by the hoofs of the cows blended with his hair, Krishna's hair, to which peacock feathers were fixed and which was braided with forest flowers. So you can see his body is covered with the dust of those, the dust which is raised when the cows are walking on the ground. That dust is covering him from head to toe, and his hair is mixed with that. And the peacock feathers are attached to that hair, and the flowers are covering that hair. And he flashed sweet glances as he was walking along, and he sported a very charming smile, and he played on his flute. Very sweet notes were playing on his flute. The Gopas following him recited and sang his praises. The gopis were eagerly waiting there in the gram, in the village. Their eyes were eagerly desiring to see this beautiful sight of Krishna. And they gathered together and they looked at him. So Sri Vasudev ji, he describes this in this very beautiful shloka, the scene of Krishna walking back along with the Gopas and with Balaram and playing his flute. And he's fully covered with dust. He's not looking like some educated, well dressed man. He's a village boy. And in that beauty, he walks back. Krishna acknowledges the loving glances of the gopis as he enters Vraja, and their mothers are very, very eagerly waiting for them to return. They are thinking since morning, they are thinking, when will the boys come back? So Yashoda and Rohini, the mothers, receive their two children eagerly with love overflowing their hearts, and they apply oil on the bodies of the children. They bathe them, they apply chandan on their bodies. They dress them in pretty clothes and decorate them with forest garlands. So they're again looking fresh, wearing new clothes. And then they serve delicious foods to the children. And then, with great affection, they rest their children on their beds and singing sweet songs, they put them to sleep. So, Krishna and Balaram, after a long day of having fun in the forest and also killing a couple of asuras along the way, they are now back home and they are asleep. So, from Srimad Bhagavatam, we can distinguish between how, we think of Bhagavan, how he is thought about in society, and how to actually think about him. We think about him like this: Sri Bhagavan or God is a provider of returns. We go to him when we want something, right? We go and ask him, please give me this. And we always think about him as somebody who expects us to comply with his rules. He's a solicitor of compliance. He is a very angry and punitive person. So we are warning each other, God will become angry. Don't do this. He is a very vengeful personality, right? If you don't do what you did last year, you did it once, but you didn't do it again, then he becomes very angry. He takes vengeance on you, and therefore he ought to be feared. Okay, so the predominant psychology of thinking about God, Sri Bhagavan, not only in India but across the world, is God is someone who ought to be feared. God is an object of fear. And this paradigm is rejected by the Bhagavatam. The Bhagavatam teaches us that God is not to be thought about like this, but he is to be thought about in this manner. He is the source of genuine love. He is the recipient of genuine love, both. He gives us love and he wants us to give him that pure love. He expects that. He is the perfectly knowledgeable one. He is our greatest well wisher. We can approach him and he's a genuine guide in our life. He's the most genuine guide. If we ask him in the most genuine manner, he will give us the most genuine guidance. And he's a very kind and compassionate master. He's a master, he's always our master, our Ishvara, but he's a very kind and compassionate person. He's not a vengeful personality, he's not an angry person. He is angry when we break the rules, right? But why should we break the rules? Why can't we follow Dharma? Why can't we live the way that he wants us to live? That is love, living by the way that he wants us to live, by doing ahimsa, by doing, brahmacharya, by doing tapasya, by doing japa, by doing the activities that please him. We express our love to him. That is the way to express our love, right? And anticipate his love. Expect him to give us love, which he is already giving. He's already giving us that love. We are able to sense that love when we actually connect with Him. So this is about Bhagavatam. Gita, along with Bhagavatam, when we read them together, we get the full picture. And this is actually the purpose of life. We purify ourselves, we elevate our consciousness, and we connect with our original self, our true self. And then we become really happy. So I will stop with this much for today, and I'll be happy to have your questions, your comments. I hope that you're all with me.
Pranam, sir.
Yes, Pranam Sarthak.
Sir, I had a couple of questions, some from this session and some from the previous ones also. So should I go ahead right now?
Yes, please.
Sir, first, can you please elaborate more on this metaphor of the people of Vriksha, Ashwatha Vriksha, that Sri Bhagwan has given? I could not understand that. Were we using a people tree, inverted people tree? Can you please
Yeah. Yes, I'll go back to that. Yes.
elaborate what Sri Bhagwan is trying to depict using that metaphor?
Yeah. He's trying to depict what we call the material existence. You see, our current existence is called samsara. Sanskrit word is samsara. Samsara means samsarati. We are moving through various births, right? This is one of our births in which we experience this. Then we have another birth. We had so many births earlier. And if we continue in this manner, we will have many more births in the future too. Now, this existence which we currently are experiencing is called samsara, or in English, material existence. It is called material existence because it is through matter that it happens. So, what he is representing here with the Ashwatha Vriksha, the inverted Ashwatha Vriksha, is this material existence. So, he says, Urdhva Moolam Adashakam, the roots are pointing upwards, and the branches and the leaves are down. They are downwards. The leaves are the hymns of the Veda, because the Veda actually teaches how to, live in this material existence in a happy manner. The majority of the Veda, the Karmakanda portion, teaches us how to be happy as we travel through samsara, to go to better states of consciousness, with the ultimate goal being mukti, coming out of samsara altogether. So the roots of the tree are upwards, means the material existence is grounded in those roots. That's why they have been put upwards. And the various branches of the tree are different things in our existence, right? For example, there are prop roots which correspond to our vasanas. The vasanas are, you see, there are two things, samskara and vasana. Vasanas, samskaras are like deep impressions which are created by our experiences. When we experience life in various forms, we experience life through happiness, misery, and we interpret them as desirable, undesirable. These anubhava experience creates what is called as samskara, which stays with us, and that samskara moves with us through lives. And those samskaras, they eventually they give birth to vasanas, tendencies. Tendencies are the result of the past actions and samskaras that we have created, and the vasanas, they drive us towards actions in human existence, or in animal existence also, whatever existence we have, material existence. And the three gunas of Prakriti are the influence on this existence. Okay, so this tree is used to represent our material existence through its different parts, different aspects of existence. Does Jayashree want to add something to this? You raised your hand.
Yes, I just thought whatever I've understood, listening to some acharyas and reading, this metaphor actually describes why the roots are upwards, because everything is from Bhagavan. So the roots pointing upwards indicate that just like the plant draws its nutrition from the roots, so we draw everything from Bhagavan. And Prakriti also draws everything from Bhagavan. And the Vedas are from Bhagavan, or Bhagavan himself has become Vedas. You can take it whichever way.
Hmm.
So, and the why the leaves have been called the Vedas, because the Vedas are so huge in number, they are infinite. In fact,
Hmm.
so therefore the leaves have been ascribed to the Vedas.
Hmm.
That is the understanding I had got. So
Okay,
I just
good.
thought I'll share.
Good, nice. Thank you. Thank you. And
So
the leaves of this tree, because they represent the they are the ones which actually drive our material existence in a dharmic manner. The Vedas.
yes, sir. Sir, so what I understood is that the tree has been inverted to depict that we tend to, when we tend to pray to God, so we tend to look upwards. So that is why the tree has been inverted, as ma'am also.
Yeah, the roots actually, like she pointed out, they draw, because the roots of a tree are the sources of nutrition for the tree. The tree
Right,
gets its
right.
nutrition through the roots from the ground. So here, the source of nutrition is Bhagavan. The material existence come from Bhagavan, as it's said here in this fourth shloka. Tameva chadyam purusham prapadye yatah pravritti prasrita. Prasrita. Where did the pravritti come from? It came from Sri Bhagavan, Adya Purusha. So
Correct.
the roots pointing upward indicate that this Prakriti has come from him.
Got it, sir. Got it.
He is above.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am.
Mhm.
Sir, my next question is that are these shlokas not in Anushtup Chanda, especially this one, which is
Yeah, this
displayed
one
on your
is,
screen?
uh, yeah, this is not in Anushtup Chandas. So
Yes.
Anushtup Chandas is the dominant Chandas used in Gita, but
Mhm.
not all shlokas are in Anushtup. They are in some other Chandas, yes.
But the first and second one were right.
Yeah, yeah, correct.
So I was asking this because all of a sudden a strange metaphor has come out of nowhere, and the literary stance has also changed. So,
Yeah, yeah. Yeah,
okay,
in
sir.
between, in some places, in all the chapters, some places, some shlokas are in a different chandas. True.
Yes. Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Sir, I had a few more questions, but those were based on the previous classes. So
Mm.
while I was watching the recordings,
Yeah.
so we talked about the characteristics of someone who is in sattva.
Mm.
So the characteristics mentioned are that that person has a sustained sense of happiness and contentment, is
Yes.
equanimous,
Mm.
does not have the feeling of rag or dvesha towards anyone. And
Yes.
when Arjuna asked about the characteristics of someone who is beyond all these three gunas, so the characteristics were also similar, that someone who is content in any circumstance which he is put in, because ultimately he realizes that the true reality basically. And basically the characteristics, the behavior was quite similar to what was listed in sattva, a person in sattva.
Yeah.
So is there a difference in a person who is strongly in sattva versus someone who is beyond sattva?
Yeah, there would be some fine differences, very subtle differences. Somebody who is in strong sattva would be very similar to someone who is beyond sattva too. The one difference would be that the ego, ahankara, the person who is also beyond sattva and is a mukta, is completely free from ahankara. But
Hmm.
in sattva, when somebody is in sattva, even at a very high level, there is an ahankara which remains, where the person identifies themselves as somebody who is very knowledgeable, very intelligent, someone who is happy, that kind of there's a material identity still existing in the person, even in a high degree of sattva. But when one is completely free from sattva, even that sense of material identity is gone. One identifies oneself as the pure jivatma, completely free from prakriti. So there is a fine difference
So
there.
So, can that difference be understood as in, for example, someone who is beyond sattva also is,
Hmm.
say, a Jivan Mukta.
Hmm.
So, I don't recollect any names. Say, for example, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu.
Hmm.
So, those would be, say, beyond sattva.
Yeah.
And someone who is very strongly in sattva would be like, say, Sri Brahmaji in the Vimohana Leela that you narrated. So
Hmm.
he is strongly in sattva, but there is very minute sense of material ego, maybe.
Yeah. Yeah. Very fine sense of ego would be there, material ego. And that ego goes
Mhm.
away only when there is a very strong connection with Bhagavan, realizing him as somebody who is beyond the gunas and realizing oneself who is as a part of that. And that realization becomes stronger and stronger, then one becomes more and more out of this material existence, even sattva. That connection with him is required.
So, sir, if I can also understand, someone who is gravitating towards sattva
Hmm.
would then also try to adopt more sattvic processes and would be concerned that, okay, am I moving into a rajasic or tamasic manner, and then would try to make corrections, course corrections.
Hmm.
However, someone who is beyond all these three would be more of an avadhuta, would be indifferent that whether I meditate in Himalayas or am I put in Dharavi. So all of these things are I'm indifferent to all these three because I see Brahman everywhere or say Shri Krishna everywhere.
Yeah. Yeah. So he may become indifferent. It depends on many other things. He's free to choose where he wants to be, what he wants to do, such a person. But a person who is in sattva, very high degree of sattva also, because of their material identity, they would tend to behave in certain ways. There is
Hmm.
still material ego to some extent present in them.
Yes, sir.
Although they are very pure, their
Thank you.
intelligence would be very refined, very strong and refined. It would not be easy to disturb them. Ultimately, the whole Bhagavad Gita can be explained only through consciousness. That is the, you can say, the key word about the Gita. Consciousness, happiness. Pure consciousness, pure happiness. So everything that is told in the Gita can be linked to consciousness.
Sir, so far in our discussions, the Sat principle has come out very prominently. And even
Hmm.
the Anand principle has come out very prominently that Shri Bhagavan is the source of original and infinite joy.
Hmm.
And that there was never a time that we have never been. So
Yeah.
this eternality of our existence, the Sat
Yeah.
principle and the Anand principle has been brought out very prominently. But
Yeah.
sir, I fail to see the Chit principle or the consciousness principle that you were talking about right now.
No,
So
many
where
places.
do we talk
For
about
example, Sthita
consciousness?
Prajna. Sthita Prajna, he talks about Prajna means consciousness. In Sthita Prajna, Prajna means consciousness. Sthita Prajna Yasya Saha Sthita Prajna. One who
So
is
doesn't
properly
prajna
situated.
means knowledge?
Huh?
So doesn't, I mean, what's the difference between knowledge and consciousness? So prajna, I thought was knowledge.
Prajna is not theoretical knowledge. Prajna is that innate knowledge in us. So in Vedanta, consciousness and knowledge are synonymous. They are not different from each other. The
Okay.
pure Atma, the Atma is considered to be knowledge, the Atma is
Hmm.
considered to be consciousness. But while talking, we say the Atma has consciousness. In the second chapter also, Sri Bhagavan uses the Sashti Vibhakti. He
Okay.
says, Tasya Prajna Pratishtita. He doesn't say Sa Eva Prajna. Instead of saying he
Hmm.
himself is consciousness, he says his consciousness. His consciousness is well situated, he says. Tasya Prajna Pratishtita. One who has these qualities, his consciousness is properly situated. So, consciousness is actually This the Atma itself. The Atma itself is consciousness. But for convenience sake, while discussing, we speak about consciousness as the property of the Atma. It's easier to talk about it like that. Atma's consciousness. Atma possesses consciousness, whereas Jadavastu, matter, does not possess consciousness. You understood?
Yes, sir.
So everything that you see, for example, we talk about yajna. Why should yajna be performed? The fourth chapter, a lot of discussion about yajna is there in the Bhagavad Gita. Yajna is performed to elevate our consciousness. Everything that you see in all of dharma is ultimately to purify our consciousness, remove matter, remove that material contamination. It is like purifying water. Okay, let us take the simple crude analogy of we have we take water from the tap and we send the water through a RO purifier in our kitchen. We fix it on the wall and it goes through the RO or whatever, and then it comes out as clean water. Then you can see that the mud and the dirt in the water has now been captured by some filters and something that's inside that RO. They are removed. In the same way, all the practices that are prescribed in the Shastra, their purpose is merely purification of the consciousness from material contamination. As simple as that. Everything can be reduced.
Yes.
Everything. And therefore, in our life too, when we have a doubt about whether what we are doing is right or not, one guiding criterion is, or you can say the most important guiding criterion is this favorable to my consciousness or is it unfavorable to my consciousness? If I do this, will it actually disturb my consciousness or will it actually help me to get a better state of consciousness? So that decision can actually, that criterion, applying this criterion can help us to make very simple decisions without getting confused, whether it's right or wrong.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So by knowledge and applying this vivek, we can overcome our vasanas, or at least we can try to overcome our vasanas.
Yeah, we
If we
can
are,
overcome them. Yes, we can overcome our tendencies. By connecting with these thoughts, those tendencies slowly recede in the background, those disturbing tendencies which take us away from this.
Yes, sir.
And then we
Yes,
realize
sir.
that we don't need them at all. We don't need such things at all in our life. They were actually a disturbance for us. They come in the way of our real, genuine happiness and they disturb us. They give us sometimes anger. They cloud our thinking. They make us greedy for something which is not eternal, not permanent. You see, we run after something which actually gives us only some momentary happiness. But
Right, right.
yeah, but when we come out of that, we realize, oh God, I was actually running behind something that was not really required.
Yes, sir.
Does
Yes,
it
sir.
make sense?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Yes, let's have some more questions from others. Anybody else has anything to ask? So when we talk about Vrindavan, Vrindavan is the place where the residents of the people who live with Krishna, they're all people with very very pure consciousness. They're completely free from material contamination, material taint. They are not in samsara. What they are experiencing is in that pure connection with Bhagwan. And they go through those leelas by the arrangement of Yogamaya. Yogamaya controls them. They get influenced. All the fear, whatever fear they experience, is not the same as the kind of fear that we experience. When they experience that fear, their connection with Bhagwan becomes even stronger. They don't get confused. They get even more, just like yogis. Their thoughts completely go to him. And so they experience immense bliss in that fear also. You follow? It's different from what we experience.
Sir, I had one comment to make actually.
Sure.
So can I?
Yeah.
Sir, I really liked your analogy about the water and contamination of water. So, because if you look at it carefully, so when we talk about contamination in water, so water is never contaminated. So there are different particles which come in contact with water, but that is a different solution. So water remains different from the mud or say the different substances, some garbage which is now in water. So that is not water. Water
Yeah.
is water itself and it remains pure, but it appears and we experience the water to be muddy, whereas water has been pure forever. Now, using that arrow or using the sadhana, we can then extract that water which has ever been pure, and now we are experiencing that pure water as well. So, our Chetana is also Shuddha, but right now it
Yes.
is covered with Prakriti. So
Yes.
even though it is Shuddha, we are getting the samsara. So using
True.
sadhana, this covering is remained and this pure Chaitanya is manifested clearly, and we experience that, and we are free from samsara.
Nice. Yeah. Good. Correct. Absolutely. The water is always pure. It's because of those impurity molecules that it appears to be impure. Yes.
So those are not water. The impurities are different from water. They are merely in
Yes.
contact with water.
Yes. Yes. They are the undesirables.
So,
In addition to that, which the water analogy does not reveal, is the presence of that infinite consciousness. That is the source of that water too. So, Bhagavan is the source of us. We are all his amshas, we are all his parts, small fragments. Now, he resides in us, he is present in everything. So, he is present in us too. And that is something that we realize as we start this process. The process involves connecting with him, and by connecting with him, we discover ourselves too. Good.
sir, I recollect a saying. Can I speak it over here?
Yeah, sure.
So, sir, I had heard a saying, it's quite popular, कि हर हर में है हर बसे, हर को हर की आस, हर को हर घर ढूंढ फिरी में, और हर है मोरे पास. So, here there is this what is alankar used. तो हर को दो तरीके से यूज किया है. One हर refers to Shri Shankara and हर means everywhere. तो हर में है हर बसे. So हर जगह पे शंकर बसे हुए हैं. हर को हर की आस. So everyone wants to seek Shankara. और हर को हर घर ढूंढ फिरी. I searched for her everywhere, but हर है मोरे पास. He is already within me. So that is something which I recollected as you were speaking.
Yeah. Thank you.
Hello, sir. Namaskara, Niharika this side.
Who is speaking? Niharika. Yes. Namaskar.
So
Yes.
this last slide which is projected, and this is not a question, just this thing. I think this was the biggest shift for me personally when, I started getting exposed to the various Leelas and Bhagavad itself. Because I don't know how many would agree, but fundamentally, I think we are all raised a lot of times with the fear of God. God fearing is the thing, but God loving is not really a true mindset with which we are raised. So when we do upvasas, and very sadly whatever stories also we have when we break the upvasas are more about this happened, this didn't happen because we did this, or we drank little water, or we forgot to eat and we ate something wrong. So there is a lot of fear in all the bhakti related activities that we do. And we have seen lot of siblings or family members getting away from being spiritual primarily because they feel everything is so much of fear driven. There is so much of vengeance. Everything that you've mentioned here, no, is precisely that mindset that goes into, God will get angry, he will
Yes.
punish me. And punishment is also for things like, okay, I did one upvasa, I drank water by mistake, or
Yes.
I ate salt accidentally, or I did something like this and it will lead to this. So there is a lot of fear element that is there in our day to day exposure to God as a child, as we've been growing up. But I think
Yes.
very nicely you have put this together that, in reality, when you start reading Bhagavad, you realize it is so much about forgiveness. It is so much about purely being love,
Yes.
being in love with the God and then the God loving you back. So,
Yes.
yeah, but then it is a slightly difficult change of mindset because over the years we are so conditioned to feeling fear that
Yes.
suddenly becoming God loving and seeing him as somebody who will not harm me if I forget one rule in the upvasa is very difficult to accept. But very
Absolutely.
nicely you put this together. Just wanted to share that.
One form of fear that I have come across is this, that if you do some vrata 1 year once and then you don't do it again consistently, then he becomes angry with you.
Yes, yes,
So don't do it even once, therefore.
yes, yes.
If you do it once, you should always do it. But if you
Yes.
cannot always do it, then don't do it even once also. So that kind of a understanding I've seen in people. So, which is very unfortunate.
So I saw personally in my life, I was telling Jayashri ma'am once, the shift I saw it. I come from a very, very, God fearing family from my parents. So the amount of, upvasas or anything that I did, any anushtans that I did was very few before my marriage. And
Hmm.
after my marriage, my family I'm married into is more like you do whatever best you can do with your best intention and
Yeah.
only good will happen. So
Hmm.
suppose you are about to faint and if you're still not eating, that is not what we subscribe to the idea of a vrata. You should try
Hmm.
your best. So because
Yes.
of that, the number of anushtans that I'm able to do has also increased,
Hmm.
plus the fear has come down and the love has increased towards God. So
Hmm.
that shift I am able to see, like, when elders speak in a certain way, since we have few people in the group, I think all of us have that little responsibility. When we
Hmm.
speak to people, how can we cascade little more love, and less of fear?
Yeah. True. Absolutely. I guess you're still reading Bhagavatam. You had started reading with your
Yes,
mother.
yes, yes, yes.
I just thought I'll comment something about the leelas that you described.
Hmm.
Uh, most of the leelas of Bhagavan happened in his Balyavastha, no? Before he attained 5 or 6, and most of the leelas happened uh, the other gopas, the small boys, not in front of the elders.
So far, what we have done, but many more are going to come.
Yeah, but
Which,
the ones that he performed in front of the older ones would be very few, like Govardhan Leela and Kalinga
yeah,
Mardana. That's
yeah,
all.
yeah,
But
they're going to come
majority of the Asura killing happened in
in front of the
like
boys. Yeah, small gopas.
yeah.
Hmm.
So that is that I just realized that as you listed
Hmm.
the
That's interesting.
different
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. We have completed almost all of them with Dhenuka Sura. Next will be the Kaliya Mardana Leela, which
Yes,
will come
and
after
the
that.
Govardhana is like the eye opener probably for all the
Yeah,
this one on, because everybody was involved. I mean, the
yeah,
entire Vrindavan
Nandagram.
and Gokula was
Yeah.
involved in that.
Hmm. Hmm.
Somewhere, ma'am, my interpretation to this always has been that the children are way more innocent to be able to see the Leelas. I mean,
Hmm.
while it is written, the story is flowing in this way, but the idea
Uh-huh.
is if somebody has to see that Leela of, God, he has to be that innocent. And the
Right.
more we mature, the more we start seeking logic. And we
Right,
refuse
right.
to see him or anything around us as godly or as miracles. So
True.
probably the detailing of the Leelas is better in this avastha because they are innocently embracing it as a Leela. They are
Right.
not contesting.
Correct.
Like probably a Shishupala had done in a very wrong way, but anybody around, like an Arjuna who was not able to acknowledge himself unless he got revealed. But
True.
at the younger level, kids are able to sort of purely see the divine in the action. I
Right.
don't know if this is correct,
Yeah.
but
No, actually, you're true. I mean, I am reminded, at the moment, I am reminded of a story that I read in Vishnu Puranam. One of the Gopa boys, they come to Krishna and ask him, who are you? You have killed this asura. He lists all the, different asuras. You have killed them. You have done this. You have, you know, uh, uh, killed, Kalinga, you have destroyed all the. Who are you then? Are you a Deva? Are you a Are you Brahma? I mean, he gives all the list. Who are you? So then Krishna says, I'm a Gopa like you. Go and play. And that boy will say, okay, and then he'll go. He doesn't question him further. Whereas we would have stood there and questioned him and examined him 360 degrees and then analyzed the color of his body and all that we would have done probably. But the Gopas, so that pure they are. Their consciousness is that pure that they are able to see Bhagavan just the way he is.
Yeah. And he reveals himself in his most natural form to them because they are so genuine. The genuineness in them is 100%. So he reveals himself completely to them in his most pure form.
Yes.
All other forms are having some level of formality which deviate from his most natural form. Like his forms as Vishnu, for example, they have formality in them, right? There's grandeur. You can't behave with him like the way you behave with the Krishna of Raja.
Okay.
Of course, we can't behave with the Krishna of Raja like the way these boys are behaving. We can only read about it. We can hear about it.
Yes. And the other point, like in the last katha, Brahma Vimohana Leela, like we discussed this later after the class also, like Sri Vyasaji has pointed out, has described, the love that the other Gopastris felt when Krishna came in the form of their own child was different as compared to what they normally felt for the children. So even when Krishna comes in some other form, the love that they feel towards him is different.
Yeah.
So the nature of the love, the difference in the nature of love also he's bringing it out through that story.
Yeah. Yes.
So that point, I think we discussed this later at home, like such a beautiful way to put it out. Like.
True. Good. Any further questions from anyone, or shall we close for today? No one has anything further? Okay. We'll close now. We will do the Antya Mangalam, and please chant the Hare Krishna mantra with me. Om Swasti Prajabhyah Paripalayantam Nyayena Margena Mahim Mahishaha Gobhramanebhyo Shubhamastu Nityam Lokas Samastas Sukhino Bhavantu. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। धन्यवादाः। पुनर्मिलामः। Meet again next Sunday.